Are you serious? I can't afford that.
I really don't know what to do.
In today's video, we go on a roller coaster of a repair mission.
Well, I don't know then.
As we go down every path possible to repair my 80 series.
Press this in, it's meant to short the circuit.
It was just a home phone number. I think it's just at his house. And that's, I think, the one flaw with the 80 series. So we've got the 80 series home, and I've been diagnosing it, going over it, trying to work out why isn't the sand diff lock engaging.
If you missed last week's episode, essentially the 80 series is basically behaving as a two-wheel drive vehicle as the sand diff lock is not working.
Yeah, I mean, this would be doing no worries, but it just...
If you had full drive.
If I had full drive. So it could either be two things. It can either be the electronics, so the relay, it could be the button itself, or it could be the actual motor actuator. And I can hear the relay still clicking when I put it in full low or when I press the button. So I'm fairly positive it is the sand diff lock actuator. And I just went under there and I measured the resistance on it. You can measure off a couple pins, and yeah, I was getting nothing. So I think it is the sand diff lock motor actuator, which is bust. I'm gonna just try and pull it out and clean it as best I can and put it back in, because when I did look under there, I did notice the breather hose for it had come off, and obviously if you watched any of our previous videos, we've been through quite a lot of water in that recently. So I'm hoping it's just water inside of it and I can give it a good clean and it'll get working again. But the pain in the ass thing about it is it's right on top of the transfer case. So I'm going to need to lower the transfer case, bring it out, clean it up, and then test it, and hopefully the actuator will start working again. Because right now it's basically a glorified van with good clearance. So yeah, when I'm out on the tracks, it was just two-wheel drive the whole time and it couldn't do anything. Well, it could do a lot, but it couldn't do the gnarly stuff, which is, yeah, a shame. So we'll get pulling it out. Hopefully we have working diff lock by the end of this video. And if you're wondering why I'm not using the hoist, it's because currently we don't have a transmission jack or any way to precisely lower the gearbox. So I'm gonna do it on the ground and just use floor jacks and yeah, lower it precisely that way. So I've managed to get my hands up into the actuator and I've just removed the first bolt. Not sure if you can even see up here, but we have success. There she is. Holy crap. I didn't think I'd actually be able to do that, but she's out. Now let's put her under power, see if she works. So what's meant to happen is when I press the sand diff lock button or put the car in full low, that little gear there will spin and engage the diff lock. So as you can see, that was me pushing the diff lock in, out, and absolutely nothing. So let's pull it apart, see whether that's not working. So as you can see on the inside, it actually looks pretty clean, but what I want to do is have a look at the actual motor side. So you can see here, there is a breather, and it is absolutely clogged with mud and crap. So who knows how long that breather hasn't had its line on. I'm assuming that there's contaminants that have been sucked in, so water and that. So we're gonna pull apart the motor, have a look inside, and see what condition it's in. Water in our device. These are the contacts here. One's okay, two's pretty bad, three is almost unrecognizable. I want to put fresh grease in it, clean these contacts, but you can see the water. It's obviously not good. Obviously got to be clean, so let's start cleaning.
After cleaning up those position contacts, I thought I'd give it a shot, but still didn't work. So I moved on to look at the actual electric motor itself.
Alright, so you can probably see here, this is our actual, I guess you'd call it the motor with the brushes and our coils.
So pulling apart the motor, it was pretty rough. One of the brushes was completely stuck. The spring wasn't working. The other one was sort of working, but it was just dirty, corroded, messy. It honestly looked like there'd been a fire in there.
And to give you an idea, this is what a brand new one looks like. So as you can see, obviously a lot cleaner. We're getting cleaner. As you can see now, I've sort of fixed this spring up so it does, you know, work a bit better. So just got a multimeter here checking the continuity between the plug over there and the actual brush here. So if we put here, you can see we've got a connection. The only thing I could really think of is that that spring wasn't pushing it out enough and it wasn't touching this. Alright, so I've just messed around for the last half an hour trying to get this coil back on without, with pushing the brushes onto the right part. It's very fiddly, but I ended up getting it with screwdrivers and a little bit of wire. So that's on now. They're connecting, they're touching. I'm gonna put it all back together, and I mean, hopefully we get some movement. All I'm looking for is just a little bit of gear movement. That's all I want to see. I don't know. I'm not an electrical engineer, I'm not a mechanic, but I figured I'd give this a crack and we'll see what happens. I'll go turn on the car. You watch this. So that didn't work. But what I've done now is taken apart the coil again. So I'm gonna clean the coils, clean the magnets, because I want this. This is gonna sit in like that. This obviously spins from an electric charge, goes in there, and then that should turn the motor like it's turning now. The motor's not seized or anything, it works. It actually feels really good. Obviously it goes one all the way to lock, and then all the way back to unlock, and that feels, it's not seized at all, it's beautiful. So what I think was the issue is just the contacts getting a charge in that actually turns the motor. I think the motor wasn't working, so hopefully I can clean this up and get the motor working. Alright, so I've cleaned up the motor a little bit. As you can see, this is sort of, it'll tear down how it would work. So we've got our brushes in there which we repaired, and we spin it, which obviously when it speeds up, gets electricity, you go turn that, and then turn that little one. All right, I'm back, and I'm getting a little excited because one of the ways to work out if your, what's it called again? I've been thinking about them too much today. Actuator's working is to measure the resistance across pins 2 and 3, which are on the plug here. So this is the first thing the service manual says to do, and when I checked it, it read that the resistance wasn't between 3 and 100 ohms, which if it's not between that ratio, they say throw it in the bin, get a new one. But I just measured it before, and we are reading a reading. So that is awesome, because before I was getting absolutely nothing on it, but now I am getting a reading. Does this mean it's gonna work? I don't know. I hope so, but I couldn't get the resistance reading before because obviously there was so much corrosion that the two wires weren't connected. So, and I'm pretty sure these little tabs here that I cleaned are actually sense where the cog is, so whereabouts, how far motion it is, if it's actually done enough that it's locked in or not. So that's what these do. And then yeah, obviously that's the motor, and hopefully I put power to it and something happens. Oh, I can see a little bit of smoke. I can feel it getting warm. Well, the motor was under power then. It actually heated up. Well, I've learned a lot about electric motor today. The armature, which I have here, is what I think is breaking and obviously causing the smoke. I've measured the resistance across the comm bars here, and it seems like 2 of them are gone. Obviously, I've cleaned it up as best I could, and it's all got contact again, but I think it's just these coils of wire have just like, they're literally so frail, they just break. And I think after being in the car for 30 years, and then obviously whatever got put through water, it's kind of marked the end of it. So I'll put it back together one last time, see if it works, and if not, well, plan B, which I don't know what plan B is yet, because right now transfer case has a huge hole in it where that thing's meant to be, so I'm not sure when I'm going to be moving this thing. So anyway, we'll put it back together, see what happens, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Well, we're about 7 hours into this. I've pulled it apart more times than I can count now. It just, I think the issue is to do with this armature. It's simply just some of these connections just won't work, and I think that's to do with the wiring, and there's no real easy fix for that unless you kind of recoil the whole thing, and I don't have any of that equipment or know-how. It seems like such a simple mechanism, but there's no aftermarket people that make them, which is just bizarre. So I've either got to buy a new one or go to a Wreckers and try my luck pulling out one, but it's hard. Most of the stuff Wreckers, people have already taken the transmissions, so I don't know. We'll just have to see. I really don't know what to do.
Can you hold line, please?
No worries. So I'm calling Toyota to see what their price is. Because they're the only ones who seem to sell this part. There's no aftermarket options I've found on the internet whatsoever, so I'm assuming it's going to be pretty expensive. Hey, how you going? So I'm looking for a part for my 80 series Land Cruiser.
Yep.
It's the center diff lock motor actuator.
That actuator, is that actually on the tip, is it?
Yeah, it's on the transfer case, on top of the transfer case for the center diff lock, yep.
Looks expensive. Oh yeah, it is. $2,024.
You're kidding.
No,
Jesus.
I haven't got one. They're valid on the west. Yeah.
Right.
Cheap.
There mustn't be a common failure, I assume, then.
No.
Okay, so you can get one, but it's from the warehouse, so that'd be a little bit of a wait, would it?
Yes, till 3 days.
Okay. Alright, no worries. Well, thanks for looking it up for me anyway. Cheers.
No worries, mate.
Thanks, see ya, bye. $2,000. Are you serious? I can't afford that. Well, it'd be cheaper to buy a whole gearbox, a second-hand gearbox, and rip it off that. Literally it'd be cheaper to buy a whole second-hand gearbox from a wreckers than pay $2,000 for a brand new one. Okay, well, we need a plan B. I just don't see how this can cost $2,000. That is just ridiculous.
So I'm sitting on my phone and I'm thinking of my plan B. I do the first thing I always do and I Google it. I end up on YouTube looking at how to rewind an armature. I was thinking maybe there is a chance, I can rewind it myself with just a bit of copper wire. And I immediately begin seeing all these videos. But suddenly, I notice a very common trait. Almost none of them are in English. And they're all filmed in outdoor workshops from a country that's very different to ours. And it's bizarre because we have so many electronics here in Australia. Yet, we don't do this. When things break here, the go isn't to go down to your local shop and get the armature rewound. It's to throw it out and buy a new one. But over in India or the Middle East or Africa, they can't afford just to throw these parts away. They get them repaired and they go on to continue to work. I don't know, I just thought it was funny because how advanced our way of living might seem. We live in a throwaway society, and today, I didn't want to be a part of it.
Sorry, one's Herb speaking.
Hey, how you going? I'm calling about electronic armature rewinding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a question. Well, I've got this small electric motor that's come off actuator from my car, and I'm pretty sure it's the armature and the coils have actually shorted or they've worn out because they're all kind of tarred and black.
So that's the ABS brake motor?
No, this is a actuator for a center differential on a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a pretty small, it's got 10 comm bars on it, and it's got 5 coil windings. And I was just wondering, yeah, if you were around and maybe I could come around and...
That's the diff lock.
Yeah, it's for the diff lock. Yeah, yep, correct.
Diff lock motor.
Yep, correct. Yep.
You can't buy a replacement.
So I've gone to Toyota and I've tried to get a replacement and they want like $2,400 for it, and it's just insane amount of money for, when I just think it, honestly, it was just this armature, because I had to look through on the it's basically got this gear which with magnets in it, which has the...
Yeah, I know the thing. You bring it down and I'll check it out. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much. Is now okay? Good time?
That's fine.
All right, awesome. Thanks. I'll be there soon. Cheers.
Okay.
See ya. Bye. All right, so a bit of an update. We just called that guy on the phone who does coil rewindings, and he's just, it was just a home phone number. I think it's just at his house. So I'm driving down there, it's about half an hour away. He said, come in, I'll have a look at it, because I think he seemed to know what I was talking about. So hopefully we'll go see him and see if he can identify that it is the armature that's having the issue, and hopefully if he can rewind and get it going, that'd be incredible. But we'll just see what happens. We'll drive down there right now and yeah, go check it out. Alright, so we just went inside and met Herb. Herb is the guy that runs... So he's actually done one of these, and he did one, he said 5 weeks ago. So he said definitely that the armature was rooted, it was destroyed. So hopefully he can repair the armature. He says they're pretty complicated, they're a weird design. He said he took forever for him to figure out how to actually rewind it, but he has done one in the past 5 weeks, so he's pretty confident he can get it working by next week, which is still a week without my 4-wheel drive, which is annoying, and it is going to cost $500, which isn't cheap, but it is cheaper than getting a brand new one. So hopefully, he can repair it and it's all good. So yeah, we'll just see what happens. Alright, so we're back here to see Herb at the armature rewinding. So hopefully, I got a call from him saying that it's all done, so hopefully it's going to work. So let's go in and see. Alright, so I didn't film inside Herb's shop, but this is my center deflect actuator. He showed me it worked on the battery, why that little cog there turning left and right. So thanks so much, Herb. Herb's an awesome bloke. He's probably in his late 70s, I think, but he's been doing armature rewind since he was 14, so he knows it all when it comes to that, and he was able to repair this. He charged me $500, which I thought was pretty fair compared to Toyota's $2,400. Let's just hope the damn thing works and I put it in the car, but I saw it working here, so unless it's like a relay issue I've got inside my car that's causing it to somehow not work, this is working, the power's working on here, it's all up to the car now. So let's go home, put it in the car, hopefully we have a sand diff lock that engages, so let's go. Alright, so we're back home. I just spent probably the last hour or so cleaning the surfaces from the top of the transfer case and the actual surface of the actuator itself, so we're pretty much ready to put it back in the car and yeah, plug it in. Hopefully she works. Alright, so we've got the sand diff lock actuator motor just plugged in here, but not actually positioned on the gear. Liam's just going to turn the car into accessories and it should spin. Alright, hit it. Oh yeah! Alright, cool. So can you press the sand diff lock button? Alright, so nothing happens. So now turn the key off. Alright, so now it must be in this unlock state. So turn it back on. Alright, nothing. So turn it off again. Alright. So one of the things when we go to install it is we got to make sure we're in the correct orientation or correct mode, I guess you call it. So obviously this gear can either go locked or unlocked, depending on if it's engaged in the sand diff lock or not engaged in the sand diff lock. So when I took it out, the sand diff lock was not engaged, which means when I put it back in, this should be in not engaged mode as well, so they sync up correctly. The factory service manual says to engage the sand diff lock when you take apart the transfer case, but obviously mine's not locked, so I'm going to put it in unlocked, and hopefully that should all sync up the gears okay, and it should, you know, be working fine.
So then I went ahead and put power to the actuator so I could manually put it into its unlocked position.
Oh yeah, there we go. So now that should be in the unlocked position. I should be able to put it back in, slide it in on top of the transfer case, because there's another cog sitting there on top of the transfer case, so I should be able to slide it in between, mesh into that cog. I should go to start the car. It should lock itself, engage the sand diff lock, a light should come up on the dash. So let's go install it now. I won't put any gasket glue on it. Oh, actually I might. I'm pretty confident this will work. I might put gasket glue on it. Alright, so up there the sand diff lock actuator motor is attached and it's on the gear. So, rightfully so, when I turn the ignition on, we should get that sand diff lock to lock. Let's find out. No lock. Why? Alright, I just got back from taking that for a spin. Sand diff lock's definitely not engaging. So I took the actuator out and then span the gear on top of the transfer case manually to lock the sand diff. Still nothing showing up in the light. So I pulled out the sand diff lock indicator and I've hooked it up here to a multimeter just to check continuity, because when I press this in it's meant to short the circuit, which as you can see it does. So I mean, I'm not sure this is working. Why isn't sand diff lock locking and why isn't it showing up? I'm really running out of ideas here. Alright, so another like hour has gone past, and as we decided we'll pack up and we'll put it all back together and we'll give it another crack tomorrow. And then as we were packing up, the light was shining in just like perfectly from into the shed, and I saw this like other plug, and it turns out there's another plug hidden up way on the top of the transfer case, which is the four-wheel drive sand diff lock indicator we were looking for, because we worked out the one we were actually looking at was the 4 low indicator to tell you whether in 4 low or not, but we found the one for the sand diff lock.
And it turned out that that switch wasn't actually working. It had no continuity when you put it under a multimeter. So what we ended up doing,
we switched our 4 low plug, which was good, with the sand diff lock indicator plug, because it's the same size of plugs. So we'll switch them out. And Liam, if you press that button in for me. Yeah. Yep, hit it. We have a center diff lock coming up on the dash. So we think that that's our issue for our light. The switch is working, so maybe the switch failed and then we're not sure, because the actuator definitely didn't work. Like the actuator was burnt out and I couldn't get it working, so we don't know. We're gonna assemble it all now. We'll take it for a spin and we'll just see if we can get it turned on.
And it didn't work. The sand diff lock still would not lock. This was confusing, and we need to go back to basics to really work out how this 4-wheel drive system works and how the sand diff lock locks. So what we did was just stripped everything back. We took off the drive shafts and we were going to manually lock the sand differential by hand. And now I've learned that this can only really be done by hand if you remove both front and rear drive shafts. Without that, you really need an electric motor because you simply don't have the power in your hand to turn the cog far enough.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I reckon I just locked it.
Yeah?
Yeah, just locked it.
Let me just turn the keys on and I'll see what they'll
yeah.
see if it comes on.
Locked.
Yep, diff lock locked. Alright, awesome. So what we'll do, we'll put the motor into lock position, power on that, and
Yeah, so to get that to turn like that, this would have to turn like that.
Yeah.
So we want it to be turned like that, not like that. We want it to be turned like that.
Alright, let's put power to it.
Okay, so it needs to be the other way. So swap it around.
Yep.
Alright, now that should be in the locked position.
And then we just leave it and it should be all good.
Well, yeah, if it says put it in the locked position, then yeah. Yeah, the reason it makes it hard is because no one probably knows to lock the car before they take it
Well,
out.
exactly right. And
Well,
the
in
thing
this
is,
case, you
when it's broken, when it fails on the road, you can't have it in the lock position. Alright, so we're going to put the actuator motor back in and then jack the gearbox back up, put a couple bolts in it and just start the car. We're not going to put any of the drive shaft or anything back in yet because, well, we're not 100% confident, but... So, yeah, the idea is we put in the center diff lock actuator in the lock position and we manually turn the center diff lock into the lock position. So with those two locked, we should be able to turn this key, the center diff lock light should come on, then we should start the car, the center diff lock should automatically unlock. So, oh, it just turned off.
Okay, that's good. Start the car, but then you should be able to press the center diff. Well, I don't know then. We did what it said, we put it in the locked position. And I want to get on there and have a look. Because whenever you,
The gear should be in sync now, right? The gear should be in sync. So let's put power to it, to the cable, and lock it. And we should be able to lock it. Because then if we know that, then we know it's the relay.
Yeah. So maybe that thing is cooked. Well, let's just put power to it and...
Yeah.
On?
Yeah, on.
Alright, I'm going to turn the ignition on. Ignition's on.
Yeah. Alright, so... Nothing?
Do it the other way. Yeah, diff lock.
Alright, so
it's not getting powered.
yeah, it's just not getting the power. Because I can stay out here and I can manually lock it, unlock it, just with this.
Yeah.
This has got dragged on way too long, but we've pretty sure we've narrowed it down to just being this relay.
We've just put power there, direct power on the plugs that power the CDL, and it was working. The CDL will switch off, but it won't switch on. So it's something to do with the relay switch, it's switch on or change, it can't change the polarity. So I think it's a busted relay that's causing our issue. Anyway, we're gonna find out. We're gonna get source one and hopefully put it in, hopefully it should work, but we'll see.
So obviously this part is only made by Toyota. So I called Toyota, guess how much they wanted for it? $580. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is they don't even have any in the whole country. It's a 4-week wait from Japan to get my hands on it. And right now we're in early January, so by the time I got it, it'll be February, and I would have missed out on a whole month essentially of having my car as a 4-wheel drive. So yeah, we're gonna need to work out another solution. Alright, so last night on Instagram I put out the call. Is there anyone out there in Vic that has one of these transmission relays? Someone's got one about an hour from home. I'm heading out there right now because I'm pretty sure that's the culprit of our problem. So I'm gonna head out there. He's kindly gonna let me actually plug it in and see if that's the source of my issues. And then if it fixes it, I'll buy it and hopefully the center diff lock's gonna work. So let's go, check it out. Hopefully it works. Alright, so I just got back from his house and got myself the Toyota transmission relay, and I plugged in the new one, and if we go here, press the center diff lock button, the diff lock works. So I think it was basically a bit to do with the relay and also the actuator. The actuator definitely was dead because I couldn't get power onto it when I pulled it out, and you guys saw the condition of it. It was terrible. But the relay fixed our issue in the end, which obviously the relay maybe went with it, or the relay caused then the actuator to stop working. Not sure which one first, but yeah. And when the car's running, the center diff lock also engages when I go to full low. Boom. Center diff lock engaged. So it's all working again. That faulty sensor somehow is now working again. So I don't know if it's all related to the relay. I don't know, but it's all working. Thank God. I can't believe this took so long to solve, but I'm so glad it's finally done. It's the center diff lock works. I can use the car as a four-wheel drive again, and I'm absolutely stoked. So don't give up. And there was times throughout this where I was just like hitting wall after wall and wall, and it's just like, but you can't give up. You gotta just power through, and eventually you will get there and solve the issue. So I know exactly how center diff lock works. Like, I know the wiring diagram on top of my head now. So yeah, the one electronic part in this car actually failed. So, and that's, I think, the one flaw with the 80 series is that you can have a four-wheel drive, but without that one actuator motor, without your relay working, you don't have four-wheel drive. You cannot lock that center diff, and without that center diff lock, you're basically a two-wheel drive van. So I know the part-time 80 series don't have that issue. They're a lock center, I think, by factory. So whenever they're in low range, they have to be a lock center diff. But because this is a full-time four-wheel drive 80 series, they wanted the ability to unlock and lock the center diff in high range, which means they needed a little actuator motor, which means even for low range you need to use the actuator motor, which means it's another failure point. And I don't think that's completely bush-proof, unless you're really serious, you want to carry around spare actuator motors. I mean, maybe you can manually wedge it and mod it so you can have it fully locked all the time. I'm sure there's a mod out there for it. But yeah, there you go. The 80 series, one flaw. But then again, I haven't heard many people had this issue, so maybe I'm alone. But let me know in the comments, have your center diff lock ever stopped working on your 80 series? And was it the actuator? Was it the relay? Let me know in the comments. I'm really keen to find out. Electric moving parts are great sometimes, but sometimes they also can be the failure points. So yeah, anyway, that's the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching and tagging along throughout the video. Got a heap more stuff coming planned, so stay subscribed, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.